I know a lot of startup leaders hire from within their network, but do the work of reaching out to other communities. You can go on Twitter, you can go on LinkedIn, you can Google just simply asking Black tech community, Latinx tech community. Like there's so many things you can just Google and you'll go down a rabbit hole from there, and you get involved with those communities and build relationships and try to hire from those communities as well. That way you are building up a diverse workforce from the beginning.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Hatchpad Insight. I'm Lauren Alexander, one of the creators of Hatchpad, the career hub connecting technologists with emerging startups. If it's your first time here, don't forget to hit subscribe for more insights like this one. Today, we are here with Paris Chandler, the founder and CEO of Black Tech Pipeline. Black Tech Pipeline provides a community and job board connecting Black technologists to great companies. Paris, thanks so much for hanging out with us at Hatchpad today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Good to have you here. So as we kick off, can you just tell us a little bit more about your career journey and the story behind founding Black Tech Pipeline?
Yeah, before I got into tech, I was a wax specialist for 3 years. So I was waxing body hair full time, and I was really good at it too. And then while I was there, that's when Obama was still in office and he was really pushing kids to get into STEM and STEAM. And I went to one of my little brother's school functions, and I noticed that on either side of the school walls, there are all these posters about coding and tech and stuff. And I found out my brother was coding at school. I went to his principal and I was like, hey, why are kids learning to code? I feel like that's something college students would be doing. And he was like, no, we're starting them young. We live in the digital era. And if you don't have a technological background, you're going to get left behind. That's when I realized that as a wax specialist, I was losing clientele to laser hair removal, which is literally a machine. And so I got interested in getting into tech, specifically coding, because that's really all I knew that existed. I ended up joining a bootcamp called Resilient Coders, and they taught me front-end web development. And then after graduating there, I went to an internship, then got my first job and so on. And I ended up founding Black Tech Pipeline later down the line.
Very, very interesting. Love that background. Could you share a little bit more about what Black Tech Pipeline is? What problems are you all solving, and a little bit more background on that?
Yeah, so when I entered the tech industry after leaving my bootcamp, I started working in these corporate America settings, which were predominantly white. And entering corporate America was the first time that I noticed that I was the only Black person in the room. Before that, I was always in environments where there was a lot of diversity, like real true diversity. And then once I left that and entered tech, that no longer was true. Because of that, I had so many different experiences trying to adapt and assimilate to cultures that I wasn't familiar with, having conversations around topics that I either wasn't aware of or they weren't things I've ever experienced. So I didn't really have any say on it. And it was just very different for me. There, I dealt with a lot of racism, and it was a really uncomfortable feeling. I didn't like the fact that I was spending most of my life at work. And not only that, I'm spending my time in a setting where I'm really unhappy and uncomfortable, and I feel like I can't be myself. What relieved that was when I got onto Twitter. I didn't get onto Twitter thinking I would find a community. I just got on to tweet about my journey in tech. And that's when I realized that there was a really small community of Black technologists on there. And I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh, wow, so we do exist in this industry. I wasn't aware of that. And I wanted to know how many more of us were out there. So I ended up posting a tweet asking, what does Black Twitter in tech look like? Because Black Twitter is a thing. And that tweet ended up taking off and it went viral. And Black technologists from all around the world ended up seeing the tweet and they posted themselves into it. It formed this super long thread of pictures of Black technologists, and they captioned what they do in the industry. I'm a front-end developer, I'm a back-end developer, I'm in data science, this and that. They did so many different things I wasn't even aware of. And overnight, it formed this movement, community, and hashtag called Black Tech Twitter. That alone, that tweet changed my life completely. It gained so much attention, not just from these technologists, but also from industry leaders, from the media, and also companies. A lot of employers were DMing me on Twitter. It was really informal. It was the strangest thing. You have these giant conglomerates in your inbox, hey, can we source from your community? Can you send us candidates? And that was really weird for me. I was like, oh, that would be cool if I could get more people who look like me into different positions. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And so that's how Black Tech Pipeline ended up forming. I was recruiting for all of these different companies at the same time by sourcing candidates from this community that I formed. A lot of people ended up getting jobs, and that was really cool. It wasn't like a service. I wasn't charging people for it. I was just doing it for free on the side because I was also a software engineer 9 to 5. So Black Tech Pipeline ended up forming because a lot of those recruits came back to me and they let me know that they ended up leaving those companies that I recruited them into. When I asked why, I already had a feeling of why, but when they let me know that those companies were actually being really performative, they only hired them to check a box. They weren't actually learning or growing or being given opportunities. They were being assigned to like DEI work and things that they just weren't there for. And so when I found that out, I felt really bad because I thought I was doing a good thing of getting people jobs, getting more Black people in the industry, bringing more representation. I thought that was really cool, but I should have done a better job of really vetting these employers and understanding their true intentions. And I didn't do that at all. And so I was like, if I'm going to do this, I have to do it right. So I went full time into it with this model where now anytime someone gets hired out of Black Tech Pipeline, I virtually stay on the job with them for their first 90 days. And I do check-ins with them to make sure that they're having a good experience and I'm making sure that they're being set up for success. And I take the feedback that those hires give me and I relay that feedback to their employer. It could be a people ops person, their manager, and we go through and talk about that feedback. And if that employer is not delivering, if they're not living up to the expectations that they set, I make sure to hold them accountable and I work with them on making that hire's experience better and making sure that they're truly happy, safe, and healthy in that environment. And so that is now what is Black Tech Pipeline.
Fascinating. When you shared with us a little bit more about the model you have, that is totally what stood out as far as your desire to stay close knit with the group and the folks that you're placing. And that's something that is often left out when it comes to finding good candidates and getting them at the right company. And oftentimes they're just kind of thrown into that environment and left on their own. And so really, really amazing structure that you have set up now as far as looping back in with them and making sure that their voice is heard as they assimilate into that community and that new company. So that's great to hear. Something that is a little unique to the Hatchpad community is that it's predominantly made up of folks who work at startups and work in small businesses. And so one question that I had for you is how can startups get involved with what Black Tech Pipeline is doing?
So you can use our services. You can always come to us. But I've worked with tons of startups. And if they're trying to ramp up really quickly and they can't really dedicate a lot of time to doing check-ins and consultations with me, then it's not the right fit because I work with companies who want to know how to really build DE&I into the foundation of their company. And they want to do more than just hire. They want to retain those hires by making sure that they're having good, healthy experiences. And so just keeping that in mind, that DEI has to be a priority.
With that in mind, how can leaders who are helping to found startups make sure that they bring DE&I into what the startup is from the very beginning? What does that even look like?
Yeah, so you should begin learning when you're thinking of forming a company. What does that company look like? You want it to be diverse. And I know a lot of people say, diversity brings in more revenue because you're building for more people with different experiences. And that's true. But I also think you should be hiring for diversity because that's the right thing to do. You want to have a representative workforce of what the world actually looks like. And yes, you do gain more customers and stuff like that because of diversity. But you should begin learning, how do I create a product that can reach so and so audiences? How do I do this equitably? How do I make sure that my place of work is inclusive so that people will want to stay with us and really build out this product to the best of its capabilities? There's all these questions you want to ask yourself and begin building at the very foundations. I know a lot of startup leaders hire from within their network, but do the work of reaching out to other communities. You can go on Twitter, you can go on LinkedIn, you can Google just simply asking Black tech community, Latinx tech community. Like there's so many things you can just Google and you'll go down a rabbit hole from there and you get involved with those communities and build relationships and try to hire from those communities as well. That way you are building up a diverse workforce from the beginning and not when you've already built up this company and it's already established this culture and then you think about bringing in diverse hires. That's not a comfortable feeling for those people because now they're coming in feeling like they have to assimilate to something that already existed that they can't actually contribute to. So start at the very beginning.